From athletes to authors, entertainers to innovators, we connect with those who help shape our culture. Join us in revealing stories of their lives and backgrounds, their triumphs and tragedies that molded them into who they are today. Authentically off script and personally illuminating, this is Audibles with Jason Scarborough. Coming up next on Audibles, Jeremy McClain.
Man, first of all, it's great to see you. I always enjoy coming down here, and I don't know why. Me and you just always have a good visit when I see you. So first of all, man, it's really great to see you.
Well, same here, and our paths have crossed for many years, right? So,
yeah.
I always be glad to have you guys here, man. Appreciate y'all making time.
Absolutely. You know, a lot's happened in the last 3 years since we last sat down. So how would you describe the last 3 years since the last time we sat down?
Yeah, it's been really good. I think we made a lot of progress in a lot of different areas, and I'm extremely pleased with where we are. We're not done by any stretch, but a big part of that has been conference realignment for us and making the transition to the Sun Belt. Big part of it's been hiring some coaches that I think have had a really big impact on what we're doing, getting the right people in the right places, and so really pleased with where we're at, and we have made a ton of progress in the last 3 years. I think. This year was one of the best years we've had in a long time, with success on the court, on the field, and really in a lot of areas, fundraising. And so I think I say that to say I think we have a lot of momentum right now. And so for us, it's about trying to kind of capture that and build upon it.
One of the things that we were dealing with last time too was COVID.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of uncertainty about whether or not we were even going to have a football season, and there were a lot of challenges there. So, and then you had to come out of that, navigate your way out of that.
Yeah.
So, what were the challenges during COVID, and then coming out of COVID?
Yeah. So, challenges during COVID, I think obviously it was just the uncertainty, right? We've used that term a ton. But for us, it was almost day to day there for a while. Like, are we going to play? How are we going to play? How are we going to allow our student athletes to do the things they need to do? And it was just this ever-changing kind of set of rules, set of expectations. So that was really hard. I mean, and it challenged all of us, I think, in different ways. Probably caused some reevaluation of some things, but on the other side of that, coming out of it, I think it probably gave us an appreciation for the things that we're able to do on a daily basis. And, working in athletics, watching a college football game, I mean, things that we probably had not been threatened for us all of a sudden were. And so I think there was a renewed appreciation. So I think coming out of that, we really, I thought, managed as a campus the COVID aspect well, and coming out of that felt like we were even stronger. I think financially we were able to navigate that in a way that didn't have any huge impact on us, and have really felt like since we came out of that we've made some really big strides to get to where we want to get to.
You had barely been on the job a year, and you were tasked with having to make some big decisions. You had to hire 2 new coaches. Yeah. You hired a new executive senior associate AD for student athlete services, men's basketball, softball head coaches. Yeah. That's a big to-do list right off the bat, but you had some skin in the game already as an athletic director. Do you think that kind of helped you make
I think it did. There was a lot kind of, you throw COVID back in there and the coaching decisions, and we were trying to get our staff right, get the right people on the bus, so to speak. It's a lot, but yeah, I've been doing this for a while now, and so that's it. The challenges of the job kind of ebb and flow sometimes. There are always going to be stretches where it just feels like it's coming at you from every direction, and you just have to kind of take pride in trying to be consistent and just kind of be even keeled about things. And so I think for me that's the trick, and we were very fortunate kind of during some of those times. We were able to hire some really good coaches. We were able to add some staff members that allowed us to do the things we really wanted to do. And I think I've said already a couple times that we've made great strides. I think the secret, it's really not a secret, but the key piece of that is just hiring the right people. I think you have to have people in your organization who understand what you're trying to do, who are willing to kind of jump in and be all in, and work towards a common goal. And so for us, with our coaches and our staff, we've been able to do that, and I think it's made a huge difference.
One of the things you said the last time we sat down, kind of piggybacking off talking about hiring coaches, is you try to be real careful not to hire someone just because your personalities match. That was such an interesting statement to me, and how hard is that, though?
Yeah.
Because you want to work with people you like.
Yeah, and I don't want to discount. I want to work. I want to go to work and be a partner with people who I enjoy being around. Don't get me wrong, but I think you have to be very careful about not pigeonholing. When you go through coaching searches, you don't want, hey, this person has to reflect this or that. I think you have to kind of understand what you're looking for, but I do think you got to be very careful about narrowing the focus so much that you eliminate really qualified candidates. Because if you kind of look at our coaching hires, they're people from different backgrounds. Their personalities are different. How they approach people are different. Now, there's some commonalities in there that I look for and try to identify. But yeah, I think you got to be very careful about getting too narrowly focused. I do think, though, getting people on the bus that can be all in is the biggest part of it.
What's interesting to me, too, is you'd barely been on the job here at Southern Miss, and it just seemed that 2020 football season was just weird for a lot of reasons. COVID seemed like a revolving door within the head coaching position. There was just a lot going on. How do you feel like you provided stability and to kind of keep the train on the tracks, so to speak, during that time?
I think that was the main thing. It was the main focus for me. I can remember going into the locker room or team meeting room with our football guys about halfway through the year. I think we'd named an interim coach, and Scotty Walden had an opportunity to take a head job at Austin Peay, and so we were going through another change. And my message to them was simply, hey, what you're gonna get from me is consistency, right? I'm gonna be here. I know things may seem a little crazy right now, but we're gonna be fine. And so for me, it really was focusing on just trying to be steady and let the people around you see that that's what we expect, and that's try to model that behavior. And so even on the inside, sometimes when you want to just kind of throw your hands up when you're frustrated, I think the key during that situation was to be consistent and just approach every day with the same kind of focus. And it was an unbelievable year. I don't want to ever do that again. But I think we came out of that in a place where the people who were with us when we came out of that were really committed to getting to where we needed to get to, and now we're beginning to see, some of the fruits of that labor.
December 2020, though, you hire Will Hall. Played football for his dad at Amory, star quarterback, went on to win the Harlan Hill Trophy, basically the Heisman Trophy in Division II, I think, and storied career as an assistant. It's like Varsity Blues. And he talks a lot about, even then and now, still talks about fit, comfort level, working here at Southern Miss, being the coach here, and working with you. Why do you think he's such a good fit?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons that he. I will say this: I've known Will for probably a decade or more, maybe 15 years. We crossed paths in the Division II days, Gulf South Conference, and I was the AD at Delta State, and he was head coach at West Alabama. And so we've known each other for quite some time. And so I kept up with him. We talked on occasion. And I'll be honest with you, when the job came open, he was one of the first people that, came to mind. He was really near the top of the list. And so I tried really hard to not allow that to happen from a standpoint of I wanted to make sure we went through the full process and that we just didn't say, this guy feels right, so let's do that. And so we did. We worked through the whole process. We interviewed a lot of people. We talked to Will multiple times, and we just kept coming away thinking like this is the right fit at the right time. And I think it's about several things. I think his background in small town, Division II, as a player, as a coach, you learn certain things when you're brought up that way that are really important, I think, to long-term success. And he's a fighter. He's a guy that you tell him what he's got resource-wise, he's going to go to work and make it happen. And so that was really important to us. Is that foundation for me, really translates well here. And then he's a guy that if you spend some time with, you begin to understand that he's really genuine, right? And so what you see is what you get with him. And our folks here at Southern Miss, that's what they want. They want someone who's genuine. They want to feel connected to the program. They want to know their head coaches. And so Will's personality allows that to happen pretty easily. And then if you think about the football knowledge, I mean, the track record is what it is. I mean, that was the easy part. He's had success really everywhere he's been. As a player, as a coach, as assistant coach, as a head coach, he's just a winner. And that part was the easiest piece of the equation. I had no doubt about his ability to do the job.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
When life is unpredictable, choose Express Care Summerall to get the medical help you need. We're the only clinic in Summerall open 7 days a week. We also offer the convenience of drive-through accessibility and walk-ins with no appointment necessary. Our nurse practitioners Sarah Dawn Locke and Kobe Smith welcome you to our location on Highway 42 next to Fox's Pizza. Find your new primary care provider, Express Care Summerall, where your health care matters.
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 is so good, the crew is giving every combination code names.
I got that sauce biscuit and some Tay-Tays.
More formally known as sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes.
Bis squared.
Egg and cheese biscuit and sausage biscuit. 2 biscuits. I'm impressed Tyler knew what squaring was.
Cup of Dubba Java.
It's 2 coffees.
Cup of Dubba Java.
No matter what you call it, Wendy's breakfast is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles.
When you find a great community, you will find great health care. That is exactly what King's Daughters Medical Center provides. Keeping businesses moving with occupational wellness, heart-healthy screenings, diabetes education and management, community education, and remote patient monitoring that promotes better care in between regular office visits. KDMC, caring for our community like no one else can.
Does it make it extra gratifying? I mean, you want a good coach no matter where they're from, but it's got to be a little more gratifying the fact that both of you are from North Mississippi. He's a Magnolia State product. I texted you the day of the press conference, and you texted back North Mississippi for the win. Yeah. I love that. Does it make it a little more gratifying for you to, hey, we got one of our own here?
Yeah, probably so. That's probably, and maybe somebody else wouldn't admit that. But I think the reason I say yes is this. I know what it's like to grow up in a small town in North Mississippi where you really got to work extremely hard to get opportunities. And then to go into the Division II ranks and work really hard to get opportunities from there. And so I think it's unique for me and maybe even a little extra special for me because our backgrounds are very similar. And I know what it takes to get from there to where we're sitting at today. And I promise you one thing about him is he never takes for granted the opportunity to do this job at this level and with this, very history-rich program. So I don't ever worry about that. He's earned it. And so for me, there's probably a little extra gratification just knowing what his path has been.
One of the stories that you told in our last sit-down was you were leaving a baseball camp at Ole Miss. You ran back inside to talk to Coach Cates and kind of put your cards on the table. You want to know, hey, do I have a shot at this college baseball thing? And you've kind of done that a lot in your career. Do you feel like that belief in yourself, your willingness to kind of put your cards on the table and even at times take a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel like, give me some examples of where you felt like that was true as an athletic director?
I do think that's kind of been my story. You know, I probably, again, small town, had to kind of fight for things. I probably, although I may not show it, I have a chip on my shoulder, right? And so I do believe in myself. I've always felt like you have to bet on yourself. And so when I was the athletic director at, you know, when I became the athletic director at Delta State at the age of 30, I probably had no business doing that, you know, getting that opportunity. But I put myself out there. I believed in myself. There were enough people there that believed in me that I got the opportunity and kind of had to learn on the job. But when I left Delta State after about 6 years, you know, I took a pay cut to come to Southern Miss and become the deputy AD and move my family. But I knew I wanted, competitively, I wanted to see if I could do it. And, you know, my goal was to be an FBS AD by the age of 40. And at the age of 39, I was hired at Troy. And then got the opportunity to come back here 4 years ago. And so yeah, there's been plenty of opportunities for me to kind of bet on myself and really kind of push my cards in and go, okay, this is what I think I can do. And there's going to be some sacrifices that have to be made. And, you know, it's like, kind of like coaches, you know, the families are the ones that have to really make the sacrifices and be all in. And my family is an amazing group. And, you know, my wife is, she's very special. And she has always supported me. And, you know, I tell people all the time, this is not a job for me or for us. It's who we are. And so they are part of this job. They understand it. They're all in, and couldn't do it without them. But I think, yeah, there have been plenty of times when we've said, this is going to be hard, but this is what we think we have to do.
We talked about football here so far, basketball, men's basketball. Yeah. How about the Golden Eagles? 15-0 at home, yeah. Right? 20-plus wins since the first time since, I think, 2009, somewhere in that vicinity. How gratifying is it to see Southern Miss basketball, I guess we could say back, because Reed Green, when it's packed and it's thumping, it's one of the hardest places to play. It's special. So how special is that to see them back?
I think that's been maybe one of the most gratifying things since I've been here, just because it was so hard. And we knew it was going to be hard. And we hired Coach Ladner, you know, actually before I even started the job. You know, it was kind of the first thing that happened. I finished my press conference, and all of a sudden we had a men's basketball opening. And so we got to work really quickly. Hired Coach Ladner, a former player here, you know, very similar kind of background to Will from the standpoint of came up through the high school ranks, junior college, you know, really kind of paid his dues and had to work his way through. And so, but we knew when Jay took the job, it was going to be a heavy lift. We knew there was a rebuilding process. We had some challenges out of his control. You know, our APR was in a position where he couldn't make a lot of roster changes, and so, you know, we had some things we had to work through, and really, you know, he gets to the end of year one and COVID hits. Mm-hmm. And so all of a sudden, a rebuild that really was going to be dependent on the ability to recruit is now you're in a position where you can't go out and recruit. And so that really put a damper on his ability to make some progress. And so those first 3 years were really hard. And but he did a great job of making some adjustments, making some changes in places he needed to make changes, and really kind of in 1 year flipping that situation and putting us in a position to be successful. And it was a fun year to win 25 games and like you said, go 15-0 at home and win a regular season conference championship, something we haven't done in a long time. And so, you know, now, so it was incredibly gratifying. You know, now the trick is how do we continue to build upon that? And they're doing a really good job. They've had another great recruiting year. We've got great excitement around men's basketball right now. We've got some facility improvements that are coming soon for Reed Green, and so feel like we're gaining some momentum there. And it's just a matter of you know, taking advantage of that. And so Jay's done a great job, though. It's been fun to watch, and I told him, I said, nobody is pulling for you more than I am to get this thing going, and so we did everything we could to try to help him get there. And you know, just really happy for us, but especially for Coach Ladner.
If I'm not mistaken, he played for legendary M.K. Turk, one of my all-time favorite dudes, man. So got 2 Mississippians leading the football and men's basketball program. Really cool. Name, image, and likeness. That was something that was just starting to kind of nose to the surface last time we talked. So there's a lot of good, bad, and ugly with it. So how do you view NIL through your eyes?
Yeah, good, bad, and ugly is probably a good way to put it. I mean, it's so the good is that it provides opportunities for our student athletes, and I'm all for it. And so we need to, and I think you have to continue to find ways to give them more opportunities, to benefit from their name, image, and likeness, or whatever the case may be. And so, the bad is, I think, like any rule that gets put in place, people are going to try to find opportunities to maximize that and or abuse that. And I think that's where we find ourselves. I think we really, 90% of what's happening with name, image, and likeness is pretty good. There's a 10% there, though, that is what gets the press and what is, I think, something we have to be able to get our arms around a little bit. And so that's, I think that's important for us. I know there's some, congressional involvement now, at least some movement in that area. So the real challenge is that we've got states that are doing different things. And that's, in an organization that spans the country, that's really difficult. And so the congressional involvement, I think, is going to be important to be able to establish a standard. Hey, here's where we're at. Here's the playing field. Here's what it looks like. But I think it's important to make sure that our student athletes still have the opportunities. And so it is good, bad, and ugly. I hope we get to a little better place. But so for us, we're involved in name, image, and likeness. Our student athletes have opportunities. We try to educate them. We try to connect the dots with some businesses. There's To the Top Collective that's been started here in our area that's been very beneficial for our student athletes and created opportunities. And so we're in the middle of it. And my hope is that we can continue to educate everyone on it, do it the right way, but that we get some level of stability in what that looks like moving forward.
So if name, image, and likeness, if it was around when you played baseball, when you were throwing sliders and fastballs at Delta State, what kind of NIL deal would Jeremy McClain want back in the day?
Yeah, I don't know. That's hard to even think about. Probably wouldn't have been savvy enough to take advantage of that. But I was just glad to have an opportunity to play. Maybe we'd get a deal at the diner or something. But never crossed our minds then for certain. Of course, your Division II student athlete, you're on partial scholarship. So
yeah.
I would have loved to have had some more scholarship dollars first. But things have changed, certainly. And, and I think it's easy for us to say things have changed. Hey, back in my day, that's a default for all of us. But I think as athletic administrators, we have to understand the game has changed. And the amount of money involved in college athletics has changed drastically. And so I think we have to kind of go into that eyes wide open and understand that what we do moving forward it's going to look very different than what's been done in the past.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
We believe patient-centered care is where it all begins. That's why King's Daughters Medical Center ranks nationally in patient care and safety. Our staff's commitment to better healthcare means a higher quality of life for so many. We are one team, one heartbeat, one mission to provide this community with the high-quality healthcare. KDMC, caring for our community like no one else can.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 is so good, the crew is giving every combination code names.
I got that sauce bisque and some tay-tays.
More formally known as sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes.
Bis squared.
Egg and cheese biscuit and sausage biscuit. 2 biscuits. I'm impressed Tyler knew what squaring was.
Cuppa duppa java.
It's 2 coffees.
Cuppa duppa java.
No matter what you call it, Wendy's breakfast is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles.
When life is unpredictable, choose Express Care Summerall to get the medical help you need. We're the only clinic in Summerall open 7 days a week. We also offer the convenience of drive-through accessibility and walk-ins with no appointment necessary. Our nurse practitioners Sarah Dawn Locke and Kobe Smith welcome you to our location on Highway 42 next to Fox's Pizza. Find your new primary care provider, Express Care Summerall, where your health care matters.
Another thing that's going to look different this year, it's already looked different in some sports, and it will look like that for football, is joining the Fun Belt, the Sun Belt. That's a big change, and you have to feel, or I'm curious if you feel, how it will affect Hattiesburg and surrounding areas economically with the non-conference schedules and the conference schedules now that you have through the Sun Belt. How do you see it affecting Hattiesburg and surrounding areas financially and economically?
It's been a great move for us in a lot of ways, but I think your point about the opportunities for the community to benefit are, we can't miss that, because, all of a sudden we're in a league where we're creating some rivalries, because, we think about South Alabama and they're 90 miles away. And, the opportunity for our folks to travel there and their folks to travel to us is significant. Troy, Louisiana, Monroe, you kind of just go down the list of teams that it's a pretty easy road trip. And so that creates opportunities not only for our folks to travel them, but to your point, for our community to host people when they come into town like that. And we've already seen an uptick in year one. The basketball game you talked about, the best night during basketball season this past year was we played a Louisiana midweek game a Thursday night, and we sold the place out. And it was as loud of an environment as I've ever been to for college basketball. I've been to a lot of places, but it was unbelievable. And so not only were our folks there, but Louisiana brought a great contingent too. And so that's just an example. But we've seen that uptick, and I think our community folks are excited about what we're seeing, surrounding those opportunities to create rivalries.
The rivalries and being a part of the Sun Belt, I feel like it's going to provide better opportunities on a national stage, and it's going to, what if Southern Miss is 8-0, 9-0 in football season? They're in the conversation, being a part of the Sun Belt. Do you feel the same way?
I do. And I think we will soon, very soon, if we aren't already, be the best Group of 5 conference in the country. I think that's coming. I think we're knocking on the door, and you can make that argument in several sports that we're already there. But I think specifically centered around football, as we think about what our opportunities are, you can talk about the partnership with ESPN and all the coverage we're already getting and the opportunities to play. We got a couple of midweek road games this year where we're going to be, one of the only games on ESPN, and so great opportunities there for national exposure. But what's going to happen with the expanded college playoff in 2024 is going to be we're going to the 12-team playoff, and the top 6 champions are automatically in the playoff. So if you assume, and this is an assumption, but if you assume that the Power 5 leagues are the top 5 conferences from a rating standpoint, that means that that 6th conference is going to be one of the Group of 5, right? And so I think we have a chance to be that conference, and then if you win the championship, you're in the college football playoff. So all of a sudden, with the expansion of the playoff, our path becomes very realistic. Our path, I'll say it this way, our path to the college football playoff is a lot more realistic than some Power 5 programs throughout the country who just don't maybe have the opportunity to win their league. And so that has opened a door for us that we're fully embraced that, and we're working every day to be that team that kind of breaks down that wall and gets into the college football playoff.
I love baseball here. We talk about how Rock and Reed Green was back in the day, and now that's back. Baseball is one of my favorite things to watch down here at Southern Miss. And there's only been like, 4 coaches in the last, six and a half decades, something like that. And the gentleman that just retired, Scott Berry, what's unique about Coach Berry and the time that I've been doing this is I don't think I've ever met another coach that is as loved, respected, revered, not just by his own fan base and his own administration, but by the opponents on the field that he's battled over the years. The respect that he's gotten from other schools and other opponents. What is his legacy here? I know that's a broad question.
I think it's that. I really do. And that's not to, we'll talk about the wins in a minute, but, I think it's just that. And I think Scott has earned every bit of what you just said. The respect he gets from the people around him, the people who know him, just casually, I think know that and we talked about being genuine earlier. I mean, he is the most genuine person you will ever meet. And he cares about people. He goes out of his way to build relationships. And so I think that will be his legacy, because that's what people really are going to remember about him, is how he made them feel. And he's the best at it. And whether it's his players or whether it's a fan or whether it's an opponent, he's genuinely one of the best people you will ever meet. And so I think that's his legacy, but that shouldn't ever overshadow what he's been able to accomplish as a baseball coach, because his time here, of course he was a long-time assistant and then time as a head coach, 14 seasons. Once he got kind of in his groove, he got it rostered the way he wanted it the first few years, to win 40-plus games 7 years in a row is incredibly difficult to do, and we're the only program that's done it, so that tells you how difficult it is. And then to be, the same regional runs, to host 2 super regionals back to back, that is elite space. There's not a lot of programs in the country that can make any of those claims. And so he took what was an already great baseball program, a program that had been to the College World Series in 2009 before he took over, and somehow continued to elevate that. And that's not an easy thing to do. And so, he'll go down as obviously as one of the best coaches to ever coach here at Southern Miss, but I think he should go down as one of the best baseball coaches to ever coach in college baseball.
I heard you say that you knew about the decision of Coach Berry to retire. You knew about that for like 8 months?
Yeah.
How in the world did you hold on to that? That's got to be tough.
It was, and not, out of respect for him, it was not hard for me not to share that, but there was just a handful of people, close that knew what was happening. And so, but I appreciate his confidence and the fact that he wanted to go ahead and say, hey, here's what I want to do. Let's talk about what that looks like. And that was a kind of an easy process for us. We knew the next head coach was in the dugout with Christian Ostrander. And so, I give Scott a ton of credit because it allowed he and Christian to work together throughout this year in recruiting and scheduling and all those things, and really set that up in a way that gave Christian a head start. And so that was invaluable, I think, for our program to be able to do that. And so, yeah, it was a tough. It was tough knowing that we were going to have to tell everyone that Scott was stepping down, right? Because you knew there was going to be, it was going to be tough. It was going to be emotional, and thought he handled it great. We obviously kind of held on to that till the end of the year, and thought he handled it great, and team handled it great. Our fan base was amazing, and so yeah, I thought it was, he went out the right way. The only thing that would have been better had been winning one more game and getting back to Omaha, but it was an unbelievable season.
I actually got reamed a little bit because he sat in this very room before the announcement. We recorded an interview with him before the announcement, and everybody's like, "You knew." I'm like, I don't have that. I don't have that kind of pull. I promise you, I don't. So you talked about Coach Ostrander taking over, and this is somewhat of a personal hire for you. You guys go back. He's from Delta State, and you guys played together.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. So Christian and I do go way back. You know, he we got to Delta State at the same time. He came in as a junior college recruit. I was a high school player. I got redshirted in '95. We pitched on the same pitching staff in 1996. One of the best teams to ever play at Delta State, ranked number 1 in the country most of the year, lost in the World Series. And then he stayed on after he finished and was a graduate assistant. And then actually my senior year, he became our pitching coach. So he and I go way back. We're you know, a lot of deep roots there. We've stayed in touch over the years. You know, and he actually, I told this in his press conference, I think 2016 or so, he called me, maybe 17, he called me, I was at Troy at the time as the AD, and he was having to make a tough decision. He had an opportunity to leave Louisiana Tech to come to Hattiesburg. He had only been at Louisiana Tech for 18 months or so. And I just told him, I said, I can't tell you what to do, but Southern Miss is a very special place. And that is a very special baseball program that is supported like no other. And Scott Berry's one of the best people I know. I said, you know, that's what I can share with you. If that's the decision you make, I don't think you'll ever regret that. And so, you know, he's done a fantastic job here as an assistant. You know, when I think Scott knew pretty early, and when I got back here, it was pretty evident to me that Christian was going to be the next guy. He was going to be the next head coach here. And he just has this great way of connecting with his players. He connects with recruits and has done, just from a development standpoint, he gets the most out of his players. And I think that's shown in kind of our draft record, if you will, over the last few years, where guys who've come here undrafted, have developed in our program as pitchers, and then have had opportunities to go on and play professionally. So we're really excited about what Christian brings to the table, and he's got big shoes to fill, and he'll be the first to say that. But I think he has what it takes to do just that.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
When life is unpredictable, choose Express Care Summerall to get the medical help you need. We're the only clinic in Summerall open 7 days a week. We also offer the convenience of drive-through accessibility and walk-ins with no appointment necessary. Our nurse practitioners Sarah Dawn Locke and Kobe Smith welcome you to our location on Highway 42 next to Fox's Pizza. Find your new primary care provider, Express Care Summerall, where your health care matters.
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 is so good, the crew is giving every combination code names.
I got that sauce bisque and some tay-tays.
More formally known as sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes.
Bis squared.
Egg and cheese biscuit and sausage biscuit. 2 biscuits. I'm impressed Tyler knew what squaring was.
Cuppa dubba java.
It's 2 coffees.
Cuppa dubba java.
No matter what you call it, Wendy's breakfast is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles.
For those on the go, we give you Audibles with Jason Scarborough, the podcast.
What are we listening to? Are we listening to a playlist? Are we listening to a podcast?
What a great question.
Listen to our intimate interviews with guests on your favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and so many more.
Do you ever look back and say, you know, my life, the story could have ended up differently had it not been for your grandparents?
Incredibly different, for sure.
Plus, you'll hear behind-the-scenes commentary on each guest, interview preparation, location, and so much more from Jason himself.
Do you have a favorite Coach Bowden story that you can share with us?
I can tell you this, what you see with Bobby Bowden is what you get.
Check out Audibles with Jason Scarborough, the podcast, on any of these popular podcast locations and hit subscribe, download, and enjoy. Now, back to the show.
You know, we talked a lot about big decisions that you have to make as an athletic director. And I so appreciated your answer. You said that you spend a lot of time in prayer when it comes to decisions that affect a lot of people because as the athletic director, I mean, my gosh, I mean, all the people that are affected by a decision that you make, that's a lot of pressure. And you said that you spent a lot of time in prayer to make those decisions. Is that still?
Oh, certainly. It certainly is. And our decisions, the things that come on our plate sometimes, you don't get to talk to a lot of people about them, right? They're not, some are confidential, and so definitely for me, I mean, I think that's a place where I find strength is through faith and through reflection and prayer. And, the job just is one that you don't get to make decisions in a vacuum. You're going to make decisions at a high level that are going to impact a lot of people, all the way down the line. And it's not something that's ever lost on me. I try to never, while that probably can be a little bit painstaking and add a little stress and pressure, it's not something I ever want to lose sight of, because I think it's really important to understand how the people around you are affected and what's important to them. And so, yeah, that's the hard part of the job. But most definitely, for me, that's something that I hope never changes. But yeah, that's a really big part of who I am and how I try to do the job.
I love what you said last time too about faith. It plays a great part in your life. I'm sure it still does, obviously. And we talked about prayer. We talked about faith, and several times you said, God has a plan. Yeah. We have a plan, but God has a plan. So in the last 3 years, you've seen His hand at work in a variety of ways, I'm sure. So what are some examples you could share?
I think I'm a firm believer in that, and I think He puts us where we need to be. And sometimes we think, as I said, I've been humbled many times because I thought my plan was the right one, and it never fails. Though I end up in the right place, and I think that's true of, whether we talk about coaching decisions, hires, whether we talk about, whether we think about something that doesn't happen for us. I think those are all examples of, we things are happening the way they're supposed to happen, and I think we have to be faithful and confident in that. And so, yeah, I think that happens around us every day, for sure. And so for us, I never spend a lot of time on the things that don't happen, because I kind of try to stay locked in to, well, that was the way this was supposed to go, and let's figure out how we regroup and move forward. And so, yeah, I think that's a constant daily for us.
One of the things we talked about too was family. Yeah. There's a lot going on in the McClain household. So that's always right. You stay busy. You stay busy here, then you go home and you stay busy. So one of the cool things we were talking about before we started here today, your son played high school football here in this area, and he's now going to get to go to Delta State and play football. Yeah. How cool is that for you?
Yeah, it really is, and it's a kind of an amazing story how it all came together. But really, first of all, really excited. Appreciate you saying that. My wife and I both graduated from Delta State. It means a lot to us. The people there mean a lot to us. And so to have him get a chance to go back and play there and be around the people that we love, and that, of course, his first probably 7 years or so were spent in Cleveland, Mississippi. He doesn't remember a lot of it, but there's a lot of people that remember him. And so it's really, been a unique experience for us to start that process. He's been attending summer workouts and getting into fall camp and all that kind of stuff. And the unique part of the story I'll share is that he really was not a high school football player. He's more of a baseball, basketball guy. And they asked him to come out and play his senior year. He had not played since we moved back to Hattiesburg when he was going into the 9th grade. And during that time, he had grown about 8 inches and had really begun to kind of develop athletically. And so they asked him to come out. They needed some help, and he got on the field, and it just clicked for him. And so all of a sudden, he started getting phone calls at the end of the year from some different schools, and Delta State, kind of became aware and offered him an opportunity. So it was a really interesting story. And so he's got a lot of work to do, but he's excited about that, and he's got some upside there. So I'm anxious to see how that develops for him.
The rest of the family, McClain household, how's everybody else doing?
Everybody's good. I've got 2 girls, Kate and Piper that are they're 15 and 12. And so we're wide open, volleyball, dance, you name it. They're kind of involved in it, and which is good. We love it that way, and I think they're valuable lessons to be learned. And we've always wanted to make sure they're involved in some type of team activity, some type of activity where you rely on other people and other people will rely on you. I think that's a valuable lesson. That's really hard to teach sometimes, and I think athletics gives us a great opportunity and a great platform to teach that.
Okay, so one of the favorite questions of all the episodes that we've done for this show so far, and we were just starting out last time we sat down with you, was the question I asked you about your favorite guilty pleasure music. I still get text messages.
Caught a lot of flack about that.
No, I've heard nothing but positive. You endeared yourself to a lot of people by answering the question the way that you did. And the answer to the question, I don't want to put you on the spot, but the answer to the question was 90s rap.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that so much. It caught me off guard. Yeah. It hadn't changed.
Well, it hasn't changed.
Wow.
Now, I enjoy all types of music. I'm a big, probably if you turn on my truck right now, it's Zach Bryan or, Tyler Childers. I'm wide spectrum when it comes to music, but the guilty pleasure definitely is kind of back to the roots of when we were growing up, and rap was kind of coming onto the scene and becoming really popular. So yeah, that'll always be a big part of my childhood and college years, and so I still enjoy that.
I was praying when I was coming down here, I hope it hadn't changed, man, because that was one of the best. That's top 5 all time of answers.
No, just an honest answer.
It was very honest, and I appreciate how candid you were with it. So
we have to find the edited versions of some of the songs, but other than that, it's still something.
Yeah, you got to be careful with some of that stuff back in the day, man. It's fun, but got to be careful. But
sometimes my song will come on that's a new song, and I'll make a comment about whether it's language or whatever, and my wife will kind of look at me like, "You do remember what we listened to, right?" So yeah, it's I get reminded of that.
Oh, I love it, man. You just got a lot of points for coolest athletic director in the country, man. I'm telling you.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
Quality of life is about lifelong care. Your family's health care is important to you, and that's important to us. King's Daughters Medical Center is here for your family in every stage of life, from the excited new parents, adolescent and teen years, to the big day. Walking alongside of you in life's journey, living a healthier life. KDMC, caring for our community like no one else can.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
When life is unpredictable, choose Express Care Summerall to get the medical help you need. We're the only clinic in Summerall open 7 days a week. We also offer the convenience of drive-through accessibility and walk-ins with no appointment necessary. Our nurse practitioners Sarah Dawn Locke and Kobe Smith welcome you to our location on Highway 42 next to Fox's Pizza. Find your new primary care provider, Express Care Summerall, where your health care matters.
Wendy's new breakfast 2 for $3 is so good, the crew is giving every combination code names.
I got that sauce biscuit and some tay-tays.
More formally known as sausage biscuit and small seasoned potatoes.
Bis squared.
Egg and cheese biscuit and sausage biscuit. 2 biscuits. I'm impressed Tyler knew what squaring was.
Cuppa dubba java.
It's 2 coffees.
Cuppa dubba java.
No matter what you call it, Wendy's breakfast is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles.
Last book you read cover to cover. Can you remember the last book you read cover to cover?
I do love to read, cover to cover. And I've read this book multiple times, and I read it recently. There's some things that kind of drove me to read it again. But the book, Good to Great by Jim Collins, is one of my favorites because I think if you've never read the book, it's about companies and organizations that went from good to great and why. What is the common denominator of getting from point A to point B? And what's interesting to me about what I think is one of the most telling and important aspects of the book are the types of leaders that were in charge of those organizations during that time. And so when I think about leadership, you really think about what do people respond to, and how do they look at you as a leader, and what type of behavior are you modeling? What type of example are you setting? Are you empowering people to do the things that they need to do to be successful? And so that's probably the most recent one I've read cover to cover, although it's maybe the fifth or sixth time I've read it. But I find something hits me a little different each time I read it, and so yeah, that's one that's a go-to for me, and one that's been really important to me in my career.
My final question for you: you have now 15 years, give or take, as athletic director, fundraiser, deputy athletic director.
16, I think. Yep, that's right.
Coming up on 16, right? You've already accomplished so much. You've already left your mark in so many positive ways on a lot of people. And we've documented it in the first time we did this, and there's been so many other places that have documented that. I'm curious, what are the chapters you want to write next in your story?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I've had time to really stop and think about that, because I don't know, as competitors, I don't know that we ever feel, I appreciate what you just said. I'm not sure we ever feel that way, right? And so I think there's always more to be done. There's always something that we don't feel is complete or quite right. And that's a blessing and a curse. Mm-hmm. But it's what drives us. And so for me, as I think about Southern Miss, when I came back here, I'm kind of tell this story. I don't know that I've told it publicly much, but when I came back here, Southern Miss had gone through several years of really trying times, and it had just been difficult. And I had some people in the industry who I trust say to me, you don't need to do that. It's a really difficult job. I don't know that they can win at the level they've won before. And I thanked them for their advice. But I told Christy, my wife, we sat down and had the conversation you always have when you're trying to make a family decision. I just told her, I said, I'm someone who's always enjoyed building things. And I just said, I cannot imagine a more rewarding place to go and build something back than in Hattiesburg at Southern Miss. And so for me, it's really about getting Southern Miss back to a place where our folks can really be proud about what we're doing. And I think we're getting there. I think we've made a ton of progress. But there's always more work to be done. So for me, if there was a chapter to write, I think it would be about getting us back to a place, where our folks can really be proud of what they're seeing and what we're doing, and that we're on that national stage, and we're in that conversation when people think about Southern Miss as a brand and as something that really kind of shines a positive light on this community and this university. So for me, that's kind of front and center where we're trying to get to. Now, there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle, and so for me, if there's a chapter to be written for my career, when it finishes, I want it to really be about people, about our staff, about our coaches, about our student athletes, and kind of, I hope one day that I think the rewarding part of that would be if I'm finished and people could point to me and say that I helped them somewhere along the way. I mean, I think that's why we do this. And so, for me, so those two things for me go hand in hand. I want to get Southern Miss to where I think we can get to. And along the way, I want to have an impact on the people around me.
There's no doubt that you're on your way to getting them back to where they're used to being. I mean, you've already done so much here, and I still hear the stories from the first time we sat down about, you'll just be somewhere and it's just the 6 degrees of separation in Mississippi, right? You run across somebody. I played baseball with Jeremy, or we work together here. Coach Max Howell speaks highly of you, because he's a Troy graduate, and you've impacted a lot of people. And I think it's safe to say, for us, you're one of our favorites. So we always enjoy our time here in Hattiesburg and appreciate what you mean, not just to Southern Miss, but just to Mississippi. And appreciate you taking a few minutes with us here today to do part 2 of this. And I look forward to part 3. I know there'll be one.
Definitely, I hope so. I always enjoy the opportunity to visit with you guys. And I want to just say, you hit on something there that I think is important to me. And one of the reasons we came back to Southern Miss is that we are Mississippi. My wife and I are Mississippi, and we care about this place. And I told her, this is the words that came out of my mouth. If I'm going to have a legacy, I want it to be in the state of Mississippi, and I want it to be and nothing. We absolutely love Troy, Alabama, and our time there, but home's a little different. And I love this state. I love what it's about. I love the people of the state, and we feel very fortunate that we were able to get back home and be here and try to be a part of something.
I know they feel fortunate to have you, and we feel fortunate to have you here in this state. And keep up the good work, man. It's always good to see you.
You too. Appreciate it.
It's really good, by the way.
We'll spend a bunch of time trying to get it right, and it looks great on paper.
All right. We'll crank up if y'all are lit.
Let me get a drink, and I'll be ready to go.
Oh, yeah. You ready for us? 3, 2, and 1.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for another episode of Audibles with Jason Scarborough.